Well, Neil, another week, another international fight for you. This is getting to be habit now, man. I know that you're fine seeing the world, but there's also a lot that goes into traveling as far as you're going to fight. So, what's your take on them continuing to send you to foreign countries?
I also don't mind it at all. I started embracing it. It makes it a lot easier. I mean, the flight to Australia was a long one, but I slept 12 hours of the 14-hour flight, so that didn't affect me at all. Unlike a place like Brazil or Philippines, it's been pretty easy to find the foods that I need here in Australia, so that hasn't really gotten away much. So I'm just kind of enjoying the ride and where I'm going with it.
I think it's 5 in a row now that have been outside the United States. I mean, are you talking
Yeah.
to Joe and saying, "Hey, man, get me on those cards"?
No, I'm just asking them that I'm ready to fight, and whatever happens as far as like who's available, where is available, he just decides to send me there, and I just like, all right, cool. I guess I'm going across the world right now. So, but I just embrace it all. I enjoy it.
Are you ever hoping that it swings back the other way and you get to start fighting at home a lot more, or do you kind of enjoy this adventure?
Whichever way it goes, I'm fine with. I mean, when I fought in Denver last time, it was pretty easy just to wake up and drive down the road and be at the venue. But whatever happens, I pretty much enjoy it. Going across the world or just fight my own backyard, it's pretty fun for me.
You've been incredibly active the last couple of years. We're just kind of getting things started this year, but what do you think? I mean, is another 2014, 2015 type year where you fight 5 times a year? Do you want to do that again, or are you getting to a point where it's not that fun anymore?
No, it's still fun. I'm having a great time doing it. I mean, one of the things that I've been pretty fortunate about is like even though I fought often, I haven't taken much damage at all in the fights, and that's something that allows me to continue to keep fighting as often as I would like to. So if I burst the opportunity to fight 5, 6 times this year, I'll definitely take that. But hopefully those fights are setting me up to run for a title by the end of the year or something like that.
We've talked about it before, but I mean, do you feel like you have some kind of secret ingredient or secret recipe? Because nobody else, maybe a Donald Cerrone can boast it a little bit, but nobody else is putting these types of run together. Why do you think you can do it?
I think the biggest thing comes out to just consistency. I mean, a lot of guys they'll train for a fight and you won't see them for the gym for at least 3, 4 months after that. So for me, it's been all about consistency. I mean, if I'm healthy, I'm in the gym training and trying to get better. So I think that translates to my fights as well. I mean, I'll have a fight, I'll go back to the drum board with my coaches, ask them what I need to work on and improve on, and we'll just constantly work on getting better, and it shows.
Steadily moving up the ranks, of course. I mean, do you think there'll ever come a point where, let's say you are a top 3 guy, a top 5 guy, or whatever, you say, now I'm only a 2 or 3 times a year guy or something like that? Because it seems like as people progress, sometimes that happens. Do you ever see that changing, or do you like this kind of routine?
Definitely, it has to change with the sport. I mean, the higher you get in the rankings, of course, I can't just fight anyone at that point. It would have to be someone who's pretty much close to a title or fighting for a title at that point. So, of course, it should slow down just a bit. But you just never know what happens. I mean, there are a lot of times where fights are on the card, someone gets injured and falls out, and it ends up changing things up. And even now, Conor McGregor's saying a trend jumping up weight classes. So when I'm waiting for a title run and there's nothing for me to do, I mean, I'll gladly try to take challenges elsewhere as well.
Oh, so you'd move around a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be something fun to play with. I mean, I fought 85 once before, so if that opportunity comes to fight 85 and it sets me up pretty well at the UFC, I mean, I'd love to try it and see what happens.
That's cool, man. Let's talk about the streak that you put together. I mean, all along the way, I think people could, okay, this is the fight where it's going to end here. Talk about, I mean, now that as you've got the streak behind you, 9 out of 10, I mean, people don't do that in the UFC very much.
For sure.
What does it mean for you, and what has it been like along the way? Like, has your mindset changed a little bit where you're like, I belong here? Because I feel like everybody has a little bit of self-doubt. Do I belong here? Am I this good? But when you go 9-1, you got to know that you belong.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I just let go of all the doubts I had before. I mean, before I was worried about so many things that I couldn't control, but just letting go of those doubts and relying on my faith more and knowing that no matter what happens in my fight career, God's going to provide for me and I'll be okay. That just kind of allows me to go into the fight with no worries. I mean, I can fight anyone, anywhere, anytime and not necessarily be worried about, is this a fight that's going to get me cut or is this a fight that the fans are going to hate me? I just go out there and try to perform well and whatever happens, happens. And having that mentality has got me a long way in the UFC so far.
You've been tested along the way. I mean, there's some fights where you were pushed and you had to come back. The one loss you had was pretty one-sided. Think about that loss, man. The one loss. What do you think about it now? How do you feel about it in retrospect?
Looking back at that loss, I almost feel like it's something that it needed to happen to get me to where I'm at now. I mean, when you win 7 in a row, you started thinking like, oh yeah, I'm invincible. I mean, no one can touch me now. I mean, even in a few interviews, I cut myself saying like, yeah, dude, I'm just gonna blow through Demian Maia. I mean, I'm fighting a guy who's 10 years older than me. I mean, you've on my side. I'm just gonna blow through this old guy, and then he goes out there and puts on a clinic on me. I'm like, well, maybe this old guy has some tricks up his sleeves, and he definitely schooled me. I feel like having that fight with Demian Maia, it was a learning process for me. I kind of needed to be humbled a bit and just kind of like get that motivation to get back in the gym and keep getting better.
it was a while ago. We talked about it at the time, though, but I did want to talk about it again. Like going to the guy's seminar. I mean, that's a big deal. There's a lot of people, I think, like I don't know if it's pride or ego. It's probably ego more than pride, where they you know they couldn't do something like that. So, what was it like for you to just say, I'm going to go learn from that guy that beat me?
Yeah, for me, it was awesome. I mean, I feel like that's what this sport's all about. That's what got me started with it. I mean, from when I first walked to Miguel towards the gym, discipline and focus and honor and all this stuff was like what drew me to the sport. So I kind of never want to lose sight of those values. And having the opportunity to go to David Maya's seminar just kind of put those things in order for me. I mean, even when I went to the seminar, he pulled me aside and taught me things I was doing wrong in my last 2 fights prior to fighting him. And I thought that was pretty respectable, especially considering the fact we're both still active welterweights, whatever. For him to like put his ego aside, put his pride aside, and just like actually help me get better as a martial artist, I thought that was pretty cool.
So he had picked out things in your tape that he had seen before that he knew was wrong?
Yeah, I mean, he picked out 2 things I did consistently wrong against both Eric Silva and Kelvin Gastelum, and he worked on it for a quick 5 minutes with me, and I applied it to my training once I got back home, and I see it made a difference.
That's awesome. I guess you're kind of doing the same thing. I had a chance to talk to Daniel Hooker, and he had nothing but great things to say about you. He said that he met you in New Zealand and just liked what you were doing, reached out to you, and you were like, dude, you can come stay at my house.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it worked out great. I mean, Daniel's a hardworking guy, and I feel like guys like that around you can definitely build off each other. You hear it all the time. Show me your friends, I'll show who you are. And having a guy like Daniel around not only helps him, but helps me as well. I mean, seeing his motivation, seeing his work ethic, it just pushed me to work that much harder day by day.
Does that feel weird that like now? I mean, you're kind of mentoring guys now. I mean, it wasn't that long ago you were the up and comer, and now you got guys turning into you.
Yeah, it definitely feels a little weird to start to take that turn. I mean, like I'm slowly getting old in the sport, but it's pretty cool to look back at it all.
Yeah. Talk about Denver and kind of the scene that's going on there, because obviously Albuquerque, Florida, those have been the spots for a long time, but it seems like there's some good things going on in Denver right now.
Yeah, Denver, we have a great thing going on, and we have amazing coaches. We have Christian for striking, Leister for wrestling, Elliot for jiu-jitsu, Lauren Landau for sport performance, things like that, and training out of the Muscle Farm facility. I mean, it pretty much gives us everything we need at one location now. So like before, you'd have to travel around to like, go get jiu-jitsu somewhere else or go get this over there, but now that Muscle Farm has stepped in, they took all that worry away for us and just had everything at the gym at one place for us now.
It seems like a lot of people are going there. I mean, I looked up the other day. Again, obviously Daniel's coming to visit. Joanna was there working out. I mean, you guys got people coming through. So how's that team kind of coming together, and what are y'all looking to do? Are you looking to bring more people on? Are you looking to just bring people through? What are you looking to do?
Right now we're looking to actually build more mat space in the gym to actually make room for those guys that are coming in. I mean, our practice has been huge over the last few months, and I only see it growing more and more. But at the end of the day, I think it's great. I mean, everyone that comes to the gym, not only are they learning from my coaches, but they're bringing a small piece of something they can add to the puzzle as well. So getting people from all around the world to train with us, they all bring their own styles and their own things that we can all learn from.
Let's talk about this fight, Hector Lombard. Name came up. Guy's top ranked. He's been there for a long time. But I did wonder, coming off of suspension, you're 9-1. You've got a little bit of clout. You're in the driver's seat a little bit. When they come to you with that name, I did wonder, would you say, why am I facing the guy that's coming off suspension? Like, give me another name, or did you even give pause?
But I didn't even thought about it at all. I mean, like I said earlier, once I started relying more on my faith as far as my line to lead my MMA career, I just let go of a lot of things. I mean, is it risky fighting a guy like Hector Lombard? Of course, but in this sport, you have to take those kind of risks. I mean, if you look at the guys that are ranked the heavy right now, most of them aren't ready to compete right now. And the ones who are, they're pretty much guys who I fought or guys who are on my team. So it's either I sit around and wait for opportunity to come, or I take what's given to me and make the best of it. And that's what I'm doing with Hector Lombard.
Does it in the back of your mind at all? And I hate, I mean, Hector says he didn't mean to test positive and it was a misunderstanding and all that, and we'll take him at his word. But, I mean, do you worry about that as in the back of your mind? Like, how do I know if this guy's clean or if he's cheating?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like, I don't think you can accidentally sit on a needle and test positive for steroids. I mean, if you're positive, you're aware of it. So I'm not going to bash him about like taking steroids or whatever else he did in the past. But going into this fight, I'm just not worried about it at all. I mean, if I say that I'm a man of faith and that's going to guide me throughout my MMA career, I'll stand by that. I mean, I'm not worried about what version Hector Lombard comes out. I'm just focused on being the best version of him.
You mentioned Maya having the youth on your side. You'll have the youth on your side here, but I'm guessing maybe you learned your lesson there. You're not writing him off because he's a little older than you.
Yeah, definitely not writing off the old guys. I mean, those old guys definitely got some tricks up their sleeves, and I'm just expecting to be a great fight. I'm pretty sure he's gonna come out hard, look for a knockout early, but I'm just ready to go in there and put on a great show.
massive size difference. Are you training? It's kind of weird. Are you training with smaller guys to get used to it? Because I know sometimes when a guy's that small compared to you, who's big for the division, it can be kind of a little tough to get range and punch down and that sort of thing.
For sure. I mean, it worked out great. I mean, I have guys like Drew Dober on my team who's pretty much the same build as Hector Lombard, and it's just kind of one of those things where I was just constantly working on things that I need to do better. And for the last couple of weeks, whatever, I just focused on like applying those things to a smaller opponent or training partner, and that's how I feel like I prepared for Hector Lombard. I'm good to go now.
Is this one of those fights where you feel like the key is really just to weather the early storm? I mean, I think that's kind of been a tradition through his career.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of guys try to weather the early storm, but I feel like if I bring the storm to him early on, it's going to change the tone of the fight. I mean, there's no way the guy 5'8" can go 15 rounds with me. I mean, when he comes in to fight that big, he gives up some cardio, and there's no way I see him going 15 rounds with me.
Yeah. Where do you go from him? I mean, I know you don't want to look past anybody, but this would be a big name, and this is kind of one of those signature type wins. So what are your expectations? Where do you think you go from here?
Yeah, definitely. Beating a guy like Hector Lombard feels like it takes my career to the next level. I mean, it puts me in a position to fight a guy who's ranked top 5 and then eventually fight for a title by the end of the year. I mean, if all things go well, I'll fight Hector this weekend, win, and then by midsummer be fighting a guy in the top 5 and then look to fight for a title by the end of the year.